Dev. Would you tell us a little bit about Devron?
DOP, I make television, shoot using lights and cameras and stuff. Do documentaries and news. Two kids, wife, trade. Try to enjoy myself. I like going on holidays.
Yeah.
Yeah, just I think I'm your standard 45-year-old, I would say.
I wouldn't agree with that, mate, at all. I wouldn't agree with that at all. I would say you're anything but a typical any year old.
Okay, I'll take that back. I'm a standard 45-year-old from where okay, that's not right either.
That's not working either, is it?
But do you know what? My little group that I grew up with,
Yeah.
we're all kind of similar in that everyone's like a hustler. Everyone's trying to do better for themselves. Everyone's trying to do better for their family. Everyone's, I can't think of anyone who's like accepted their fate.
Yeah. That's a great way of putting it, Dev. That is a great
Yeah.
way of putting it, isn't it? Yeah.
So when I say I'm like a typical 45-year-old, I'm typical in my circle because my circle is full of people who just, they could hit a wall today, tomorrow they'll get up and go again. That's just the way we are.
That's a great circle to be in. That's a great circle to be in, mate. That's so thanks for that. That was a really nice insight, a really nice start. So let's talk about how did you connect with Simple FX and Richard? What was going on? When did it happen? What was going on? And what caused you to connect?
Um, it's a little bit of a long time ago, but I wanted to make a documentary about trading, but I was also interested in trading. I'd been to some of those seminars where they charge you an arm and a leg and they give you no information. Um, I saw Simple Effects online, and even though I'm from London and it was in Birmingham, it was still cheap's the wrong word. It was still such good value that it made sense me driving up, staying in a hotel, and then driving back. Um, and yeah, on that day, Richard, like, he gave a lot of information. So I reckon if you were smart enough, you could probably go there, listen to that first day, and you could leave, place a trade, and you might not 100% know what you're doing, but he's giving you enough information where you could be like, okay, that might go up, that might go down. This is how I place a trade. And so I thought that was brilliant. And then Richard being Richard, he just kind of, I don't know, he kind of like hugs you with his words. And
Yeah.
so you kind of just like get along with him. And
Yeah.
yeah, then we ended up deciding to make a documentary about trading and him. And I never forget it, but I can't remember the exact number. I can't remember if it was 15K or 20K or 10K or whatever it was. Um, when I was shooting, I saw him make it in a very small amount of time.
Yep.
And yeah, I just knew I was broke at that point. I was just like, I need to learn how to do this. And
Yeah. That's an interesting one though, isn't it? Because that probably happens. I don't know if you have friends or anybody around when you're trading, but it happens like if I travel,
yeah,
I've got like a little Mac setup and a couple of extra screens, and someone will sort of have a look what you're doing, what's going on. "Oh, I'm just doing some trading." So they might see a trade and like, what's that? What's that number? What's that blue number there? That's like 650 quid. Is that
mm,
650 quid profit? Yeah. How'd you do that then? I'm like, it's like, but that's you've done that in a couple of minutes. I'm like, well, that's not really how it works.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That is true, but there's a lot behind that, and I think, I mean, yes, for sure, when you see some of Richard's trades, there's some big numbers in there.
Yeah. I think trading is one of those things where if you learn the skill set and you understand how to do it, you can make a lot of money. And I think anyone who wants to better themselves, if they see those numbers and they think, oh, if I just click that button, I can make more than or the same as what I make in a day. People gravitate to it. But it's also one of the hardest things in the world as well. So, you can't win. It's tough.
No, and I think when you obviously you know Richard's journey anyway with trading, you know that. So let's talk about your journey with trading then, Dev. So you met Richard, you went on a 1 day seminar, or probably a module one, I think it's called,
Mm.
and then you hooked up together, you did this work together, made this documentary. What happened next in terms of your trading journey? What happened next?
I lost money like everyone does in trading. Um, and I always tell, like, it's even when I say it now, like I'm annoyed because I didn't listen to it today. But Richard has this thing about making a little bit every day. Don't
Yeah,
try and go for the home run. Take
yeah.
your little bit out of the market and go away. But at first, I was trying to hit home runs. And then I lost a little bit of money, and then I stopped trading for a couple of years. And then, Richard, he'd always send you a message every few months, like not trying to get money out of you or anything like that, just like, how you doing, son? You all right? And then I was like, okay, let me give it another go. And then started getting good at it. But it was, I think, one of the reasons why I got good at it is because I think I put a grand in an account. I can't remember how much it was. It might be 500 to a grand, whatever it was. But I started doing penny trades,
Oh wow.
and I was doing penny trades for ages. And if anyone's done penny trades before, you can like catch a massive move and make 80p. Do you know what I mean? It's
And, yeah,
not, so, but it made me realize that I'm winning
yeah.
because it's like profitable by like a pound, but I was profitable. So once I saw that, I just started to make my trades bigger, and then I grew that grand to like 25k,
Yeah,
and, that,
awesome. It's
and
awesome.
that's when I realized I know what to do technically, but then like everyone, the hardest part is the mental game. So
Yeah.
I realized at that point, I know what I'm doing technically, and I was able to withdraw money on a weekly basis. So I know I had it technically, but the mental part is the challenge with trading, I would say.
I mean, if we can just stay here for a second, because there's like three or four gems you came out with there, which is I think that's right. That number one, it does seem like it's sort of the rite of passage to a successful trading career is that you do have to lose some money.
Yeah,
Would
yeah.
you agree with that? Yeah, and I don't know why that is. What would you think that is?
I think you need a slap. It's like, do you know what it is? I used to do kickboxing, and you can't you can't be, well, any sport, it doesn't matter what it is, you can't be good without losing. You got to know what it feels like to lose, to
Yeah,
not want to lose. And I think trading's the exact same. And where everyone gets into trading to make money, and some people, I think the majority of people, slight gambling mindset.
yeah,
So, I mean, I lost that 25k, and that, I think, after that I've got better at trading. But what happens is you lose a little bit, and then rather than saying that's my max for the day, I'm walking away, you lose a bit, and then you're like, okay, I'll try and make that back, and then you risk a little bit more than you risked on the first trade, and then you'll risk a bit more, and you're trying to make this money back, but you don't realize you're actually digging a deeper hole. And I think that's how the majority of people lose money. But then you've got to you've got to realize when you lose money, you've got to accept that, okay, I've lost that money, reset and go again. But I think a lot of people, they don't reset and go again. They just like, it's a scam. I lost 500 quid or whatever it is.
It's interesting that, Dev. That's again, it's worth just if we can just stay because I'm just thinking about the people who are going to be watching this. So just it's for them. It's for people who are considering trading or just started trading, and I think that's so right. I've watched Rich when he's got himself into a real pickle,
Mm,
right? A real pickle, and he's relentless. He will not back off. He will just pursue that relentlessly and work it out. One of there's a famous masterclass now, which you're probably not aware of, but it's a Euro Yen masterclass. I don't know whether you're aware of this trade, but Rich got into, and I say recently, but I don't think it's probably a year or so ago now. And it had hit a floor. It was the floor of all floors. And then, sorry, it had hit a ceiling. It was the ceiling of all ceilings, and he'd gone short, and it had gone again. And
Yeah.
so then it'd gone again, and then it had gone again, and about five times.
Mm.
And he does have a history with the euro yen. That's a bit of a nasty lady for him. They definitely don't get on. But he then unwound all of those loss-making trades just by scalping and hedging and getting some back. But he was like going to bed he was sleeping for an hour and getting up because it was the yen, obviously. So obviously through the Asian session,
Mm.
and he went through about 2 or 3 weeks, and he completely sort of just neutralized the problem. And,
Yeah.
and and it was just something that you said there, that which is people get in, lose a few quid, and like it's not for me.
Mm.
But they're not using the right techniques. Obviously, the mental game's not right as well. And
Mm.
it's almost like I don't know if you've heard the theory, the acres of diamonds theory, about the guy who was digging for gold. And he got fed up with it. He bought this plot of land in Vegas. He's digging for gold. I've had enough. And he slams his spade into the ground, walks off and sells this plot of land to another bloke. The other bloke walks onto the plot of land, scoops up the spade, and was like, on that spade, there's loads of gold.
Yeah.
And it's called like the acres of diamonds. It's like you're right there and you've just walked off.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's like the problem. I think the problem is because people don't get educated.
Mm.
Because they don't get educated, they don't know that they're doing it all wrong. So they basically stepped into something, don't know what they're doing, lost a few hundred quid, and decided it's not for them. But they've not learnt anything about the game at all. What would you say? It is interesting about that, the rite of passage thing. There's something about losing that money
Mm.
that does change the game. I don't really agree with that.
Yeah. And I was gonna, well, you lose money all the time in trading as well as make it, to be fair. But it's all about risk management.
Yeah,
So if you accept your losses, then you can make money easier. So losing is very important. So if someone's watching this and they're just starting to trade, I always say to people, don't trade money you can't afford to lose. So I used to have this thing in my head when I used to trade, and um, I'm okay. Maybe I spend a little bit more than most when I go out to a bar or to a club, but in my mind it would be like I could easily spend 200, 300, 400 quid when I go out clubbing or raving. So I'd be like, right, I'll split that into two trades. So I risk 200 quid on this trade. I risk 200 quid on that trade. That's money that I would have been comfortable spending on alcohol. So if I lost that, then I'll be easy with it. You know, I
yeah,
used I've got an addiction for trainers.
yeah,
Then sometimes I might buy two pairs every month, or I might buy more, who knows? But sometimes I think of it like, all right, I'm going to place this trade. Maybe that's the money I would have spent on trainers. So when I've tried to help my brothers to learn how to trade, I always say to them, just don't spend money you wouldn't be happy losing.
yeah.
And I think if you start with that mindset, then it's just a lot easier when you take those losses. And the most important thing, if anyone's learning how to trade, is do penny trades.
Yeah, that's a great piece of advice, actually, Dave. That's a great piece of advice. Um, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. It means that you can get in the market. You are physically, because like for me,
Mm.
I can't use demo accounts.
I
I,
can't use
I
my
couldn't.
accounts.
It doesn't work for me. It's like it's pointless. It's pointless to
Because if
me.
you lose, you've not lost. It's
That's the problem. That's the
just
problem.
time. And then I find because I used to have, well, I still have, but I don't use it. I had like a Instagram account where I used to post all my wins and losses,
Yeah.
and then like you speak to people because they see you winning because it's Instagram. You post lots of your wins and your withdrawals, and so people message you and all this stuff. But if you trade penny accounts, like you just don't blow your account.
Yeah.
So
I,
you're in the game for longer. But
yeah.
if you're trading I don't even know what are they called, like paper accounts. What are they called?
Demo accounts.
No, the one you just said it. I never use them, so it's just not a name that comes to my mind. When it's not real money, it's
Oh, you mean like just like a virtual account?
demo account. Yeah,
Demo,
when
demo
you
account.
trade, if you're trading a demo account, it's just not real because these people trade a demo account. They'll make a ton of money on a demo account. Then they'll put real money into an account. They'll lose 500 quid, which isn't a lot in trading once you start going. And then they're like, "Oh my god, I can't believe it!" And then they just lose all their money. You've
Yeah.
got to lose real money and win real money. Do you know what? I think the best feeling, well, not the best, but a great feeling I had was trading pennies. And I think I got to like £1.50. And it took forever, but
Yeah.
I felt amazing because it was profit and it was like real, you
Yeah.
know. But
Yeah.
then, and on the flip side, when I first started, I lost like maybe £1, but it took ages to lose £1. And I learned so much along the way.
Yeah, I mean it's a quid. Investing a quid, you invest a quid, you get nothing. But in this game, if you trade in pennies, that's a great piece of advice, a really great piece of. And I think I because I say to people when they talk about losses,
Mm.
one thing that I always noticed about Rich was that he doesn't even think about losses. It's like there's no emotion in it. It's like, yeah, that's okay. The stop loss did its job. I'm good. I'll go again. Or you know what I mean? It's like, and I think what I always say is, I think there is a piece about just emotionally detaching yourself from the money.
Do you know what I will say on that? Because as you were saying it, it's impossible, in my opinion, it's impossible to accept a loss until you are making money or profitable. Because
Yes.
till
Yeah.
that point, it can't twig in your head that this is just a part of the process.
Yeah.
Like I've made a little bit of money from
That's
trading.
the way to put it. Sorry, yeah.
And even like today, we spoke the other week and we were saying like, um, GBP, JPY is just not being acting correct and blah, blah, blah. And you were saying, I just take a little bit for the market. So since you said that, I'd risk 500 to make 1500.
Yeah.
She said that I started risking 300 to make 500.
Yeah.
And I make 500 quid every single day of the week since we had that conversation. And then
Okay.
today, I lost my first trade. Yeah, I know better. And I just thought, do you know what? I'll give it another go. And I lost the second trade and freeze my max. I should only do two, but
Yeah.
three is I should only do one, but two's my, okay, stuff happens. Three's my absolute no. Uh,
Same.
and so I took, I, I've took three. Then after I took the trade, I sat there and I just thought, you know better than this. Do you know what I mean? So I shut my laptop. I just went and played paddle to like
Yeah.
physically get me away from anywhere where I can place those trades. And I think that's the hardest thing. I feel like I've been doing this for years, but in that moment, even though like after our chat, I was making money every single day, doing the right thing, one and done.
Yeah.
In that moment, you can just and you've got.
That is a weird thing because that happens to me too.
Mm,
And we're both, I mean, how many years have you been trading now?
I would say I've been profitable for maybe a year and a half, but I've been trading every day for about 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah. But you met Richard longer ago.
So I was, see, when people talk about trading, I always like, someone says, "Oh, yeah, I've been trading for 5 years." And they place a trade on Monday, they place one 2 weeks later, and then that's not trading. You might be, so I was learning all that time, but I would say consistently after losing that 25K, been trading for 2 years, but I've probably been trading for about 5 years. But 2 years of actually having a strategy, trading the same strategy every single day consistently, I would say 2 years. And I think that when whoever's watching this is a new trader, you'll get it once you start trading. I
Yeah.
reckon you start trading when you trade one strategy and you're able to do that every single day. That's when you're trading. When you're just like, I don't know, fishing and hoping something comes back, that's not really trading. It's like gambling.
I mean, that's if we just stay on that piece if we can a minute, Dev, because that's important. You say you've got one strategy.
Yeah.
Okay, you deploy that strategy. Do you also, I don't know whether you do or not, do you also do this, or do you feel that it's actually better if you stick to a really small number of assets or even one asset?
I only trade one asset when things. So basically, I trade one asset at a time, which at the minute is GBP JPY, but it's just not working since the war. It's just
Yeah,
not working. All time highs. I traded for about just under 2 years, maybe a year and a half. When I've been most profitable, it was just euro dollar, and that's all I traded.
yeah,
Um, ORB 815, whichever side it goes of the 815 candle, I take that trade, shut my laptop, and I'm gone. One a
yeah,
day. And
yeah,
I made the most money doing that one thing. And so, if people are watching, I would say just find a strategy. Because I'd say all strategies work. I love back testing. I've back tested so many different strategies, and most strategies are between a 30 to 55% win rate.
yeah,
So most things work. People just call them different names. So if you find a strategy that works with your lifestyle, just stick to it. Do one trade a day, two max, and
yeah.
just you will. I think it's almost difficult not to make money if you do one trade a day. I'll explain why. This is where I think if you do one trade a day, that's 5 days a week. You risk free. You risk 1 to 3 on each trade. You could lose 3 days a week and you could win 2 days a week and you're still profitable.
Yeah.
You could lose 4 days a week, win one that week, and then you're almost breaking even. The following week, you place a trade and you're in profit.
Yeah.
And in my view, you just can't go wrong. So if you keep doing that, and then you get to a point where you're like, okay, look, I'm making money, I'm profitable, you see it works, and then you can increase your risk. So if you're risking £1 a trade, you can go up to risking £2 a trade. That's something Richard said actually. It's just coming back to me. It was a pound a trade when I first started. Richard said, but I was scared and I did penny trades. But yeah, it's I know I go all over the place when I talk, so I talk too much.
Oh, it's great. Keep going. This is great. This is great.
But no, it's coming back to me as we speak. That thing about risk £1 a trade and try and make £3.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
and you don't realize how important it is to start small when you first start, because like we were saying before, it just limits how much you lose and it keeps you in the game for longer.
Yeah. I agree with that, Dev. It's something that I also think now that, I mean, there's enough movement in the euro dollar or the pound dollar for anybody to make as much money as they want every day. It's not as if these things are, and they're much more predictable than some of the other assets. I'm not saying they're predictable, but they're much more predictable because they're huge currencies.
Yeah.
You know?
My biggest problem is greed. And like we said, every day I've got 500 quid out of the market. And because what I first started trying to do after our conversation was do one to one.
Yeah,
One to one, you might have a 70% win rate with one to one. So then all you've got to do is just do your one to one every day and you should be profitable. So, and I started doing it since last week and, it's working. But I think what happens a lot of the time is say, for example, you make 500 quid a day, then all of a sudden you're like, oh, maybe I can make 600 quid a day. Oh, maybe I can make 700. But then what you don't realize when you're a new trader is that the market just doesn't do that all day. The
yeah,
market goes, it will go up there, but it's doing this along the way. So
yeah,
unless you've got a crazy stop loss, which no one can afford, you
yeah.
know, You've got to just take a little bit out of the market and then just thank you very much, take that money and go. Um,
Yeah. Sorry, go on.
and we all learn the hard way when it comes to that. It's just part.
I think yeah, I think that's it's like it's funny because I mean this still happens to me now, which is I was just having a look at some of my history this morning, and when you transfer, so let's say if you were trading the euro dollar,
Yeah.
when you transfer from an asset like the euro dollar, and let's just say I'll just use an extra, and you move to the Nikkei,
Mm.
right? You cannot keep the lot sizes the same because you're in a completely different risk scenario all of a sudden. You know,
Yeah.
your 10 or 20 point stop loss on the euro dollar isn't going to last 3 seconds on the Nikkei. You can't do that. You've got to do something different. You've got to
Mm.
have a bigger stop loss. But therefore, but people transfer from one asset to another like a relatively docile asset, let's put it like that, to
Mm.
something that's absolutely crazy, but they keep the lot size the same. And then all of a sudden, and what people don't twig is they're now putting their account under massive pressure and risk because you only need to make that. There's a great, if you take that example, you make
Mm.
that move, let's say you're up to a tenner a point on the euro dollar, you move to the Nikkei at a tenner a point and you don't get it right, the whole thing. You can blow your account so fast. And Rich always says, always look at what you're going to lose.
Do,
Oh,
you- do you know what I'm going to do it again. Actually, I'm going to go and take some cash out today. But one of the biggest things that helped me make money was having cash on the table.
yeah,
So I'll have a stack of money. If I risk 300, I take 300 out and I put it on that side. If I lose that trade, my second, which is always my last trade of the day, I'll take that out and I can physically see that I've lost 600 because the brain, when you're trading, it's just not computing like money as money. It's just numbers. And I think once you, so I trade prop firms. So with prop firms, you have to make 10K to pass a 100K account. So when I do that, I'm very aggressive.
yes,
So I might risk 2K on a trade. And then as soon as I make that 2K, I move my stop loss up and I risk another 2K. So basically, I'm trying to make 10K in 1 to 2 days, just being super aggressive. Um, and when your brain is used to seeing 5, 6K, 10K, then you're trying to trade like risk 300 to make 500. All of
yeah,
a sudden, your brain is just, it's like one, you want to risk more because you want to make the big number because you've seen the big number, but it's not like it's not like you've gone into your pocket and you're taking out 10K. Or sorry, it's not like you've gone into your pocket and you've lost 500 because it
yeah,
doesn't feel like 500. It's
no,
only when you go to your bank and you look, for example, and you're like, oh my gosh, I put, I don't know, 2 grand into my trade account and my trade account's blown. But when
yeah,
you're trading, you don't notice it. You're just pressing buttons and
yeah.
yeah,
That's such a good point because you're in the casino. Once you're trading, you're in the casino, aren't you? That's why you buy chips because it doesn't mean anything.
yeah,
Uh, and so that's what's going on really, and that's a really good point there. That you just lose all, and particularly when the prop firm thing I'll come back on, but particularly when um, you've made a great trade, you've made like 2 grand, 3 grand, and it's like, wow, this is brilliant. Okay, so now I'm going to go again and do this, and then suddenly you're losing a grand, but because you made two or three, and then you're losing, it's not a grand anymore. It's just like it's sort of part of the game all of a sudden, but it's still a grand. It's
yeah, 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 yeah.
you seem to miss that, and I think it's a really good point about like actually putting the cash on the table.
I
That's
think
a brilliant thing to do.
one of my biggest downfalls, I would say, is I have a good job. So the money I trade still is money that I can afford to lose.
Yeah.
And because I enjoy trading and I make my withdrawals and I make money and whatever have you, but it's very easy to lose a bit of money and it not affect you as much.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I'm trying to work on at the minute, is that whole thing of this is real money.
Yeah.
Even though you've factored in, right, I can afford to lose that amount of money, so I'm going to trade this. It's still money. You shouldn't. So, for example, you might make, say, so what I did when I used to trade my own money, not prop firms, is I'd make sure I make a withdrawal every week.
Yeah.
And by taking that money out, that just doesn't allow you to lose as much. Obviously, you've got to be profitable to take money out. I get that. But make sure I take out money every week. With prop firms, I think they're great because every 2 weeks you're able to take money out.
Yeah.
And I think that whole taking the money out and spending it, it makes it a bit more real.
Yeah, I agree with that, Dev. I sometimes wonder, and I try to get this mentality, which is, let's just say, God forbid, right? Let's just say if tomorrow
Yeah. So
you found yourself, or I found myself, okay, unexpectedly, job's gone, that's over. There's a robot doing it now. So robots are in, Dev. Sorry, it's over. Okay, brilliant. Um, so job's gone, income's gone. You've got a pot of money in your trading account, and now that's the only way that you can generate income for you and your family. And I think I wonder what would happen. I think about myself, thinking, right, I wonder what sort of mental set or frame of reference I would bring to my PC, to my computer. You know what I mean, in terms of trading.
I don't know how Richard does it, but I don't know how people who do it with trade. Because having chats with Richard, he always would say to me, you shouldn't, you can make it, but you shouldn't make trading be your number one form of income.
Yeah,
You should be thinking, this is what I do, not on the side, take it seriously. And then once you get to a certain level, then you can be like, oh, well, I could maybe go and work part time and trade on the side, or maybe I can leave my job and just trade. But that should be like your end goal. Your main goal should just be like getting good, learning how to do this. But it's interesting what you said, because Trump has destroyed everyone's lives at the minute. But it's also affected my work, because normally I make lots of different films, if you like, about all these different topics, politics, cultural, whatever have you. But because news, especially, is so focused on Trump, it means that I make less money now,
right.
because there's not that much for me to do. And it's what it's made me do now is just be like, right, now I have to take this super seriously and be more strict. And that's why I was doing that £500 a day thing, because that's just like a little bit of money every day. At the end of every 2 weeks, I just take a little withdrawal. But one thing that I'm going from topic to topic, but do you know, actually, this is quite interesting, actually, because I'm doing an extension on my house. And up until the point where I started the extension, I was making a lot of withdrawals. I had like lots of different funded accounts, and I was making 2K every 2 weeks of different accounts. I was making a lot of money. So when we started the build, I was like, doesn't matter. I'll just pay for it out of my trading money. It doesn't matter. This money's coming every week. It's been coming in for months. I'm good. As soon as I had to make that money trading, I just went on a losing streak for about 6 months. I, I,
That's
I don't, I can't, to this day, I don't know what happened. I feel like mentally, you can't just lose a grand. I know I, I always feel weird when I say lose a grand, because a grand is a lot of money. I shouldn't just say that frivolously on here. But, when you lose a grand, before I could be like, I'll lose a grand, doesn't matter. I'll make that back tomorrow. So if I do
right.
two trades that are wrong, two 500s is a grand, the next day I'll make a 1,500 quid. I've made £500 profit. So, so that was how my brain used to work. But as soon as I had this build, I lost a grand, and I'm like, shit, I've lost a grand. And then you go again and you go again. And I just couldn't make money. And it's that thing what you said earlier. getting in front of your computer and this is the only way you make money, or when it becomes that serious,
Yeah.
then it's very, very, very difficult to trade
Yeah.
when it's serious. I found anyway.
Yeah. No, but I mean, but to your point, there are thousands of people who do it, tens of thousands who do it and do it successfully. I know there's millions that don't.
Yeah,
There are people, there's plenty of people out there who make a really good living and they just trade.
I,
Um,
I think it's that thing of I was successful when I wasn't connecting myself emotionally to the money.
that's the difference. Yeah.
Yeah. As soon as you connect yourself emotionally, that's when it becomes difficult. And that's why we've all got to try and be a bit more like Richard in that you just place a trade. Is it going to win? Does it not win? Okay, no problem. Move on.
Yeah.
Rather than, oh my God, I've lost that amount of money. I think that's where uh, everyone is trying to get to, and people who do it like Rich on a daily basis and making this money, they're all very nonchalant about losing money and making money.
Yeah, I agree. There's just no emotion involved at all. I'm literally none at all. And I think obviously when you get to Rich's level, you're trading with you've got a big account, you've got a lot of room in the account to be able to handle losses.
Mm,
But that's a relative thing. So if you haven't got a lot of money, just scale it all down, make it all relatively the same, so that when you because Richard literally, yeah, Rich has zero emotion in any loss-making trade ever. And Richard is his point is, I don't know whether you agree with this. It works for me, which is you've done the prep, you've made a decision. This is if it gets to this price, this is worth buying
mm,
at that price. And Rich will say it in the mornings on the coffee. He'll be like, if it gets here, this is, I'm prepared to buy it. This is a good buy. And it's almost like a probability statement. If
mm.
it gets here, I'm prepared to buy it because that represents potentially value for money. And of course, if you get it wrong, you've done the work. Okay, well, you do get some wrong. And I think, Dev, it's sort of, I was saying to someone the other night, if you look at this as a business,
Mm,
looked at this as a business, well, if you're running you're running a business, so you've got overheads.
mm,
You've got a lease, you've got staff, you've got whatever it is, you've got overheads. Well, the loss-making trades are the overheads.
mm.
That's the cost of being in this business, isn't it? The cost of being in this business is loss-making trades. That's your cost of being there effectively. And I think if you can look at it like that, which is, I'm in business and there's a cost to doing business, and in this game, the cost of doing business is a few loss-making trades.
Do you know what as well? I, I've just thought of this speaking to you, but speaking to people who trade also makes a difference. Because
Yeah,
the way you broke down the way Richard trades, if it gets to that number, at a good value, it's worth taking the trade. Things like that. I don't know, is it still called coffee morning?
coffee, still coffee, espresso.
Espresso mornings now. But being amongst other traders in the morning when some have lost and some have won, it makes it more like, okay, we're all in this together. Yeah, there's no problem losing there. We'll come again tomorrow morning and can all talk about your trades. I think when you trade on your own and there's no one to hold you accountable and there's no one asking you how many trades have you won or lost, I think that is when things can go a bit south. Because I was thinking it this week actually, because we just had a brief conversation last week. I had a
Yeah,
brief conversation with Richard last week, and speaking to people who trade and listening to how you guys are navigating the Trump situation made me change my trading. Then all of a sudden, I've only had one losing day since we spoke.
yeah, that's amazing. That's
So,
amazing.
and I feel like that I might actually start joining the espresso mornings again. But it makes such a difference talking to traders and hearing what they're doing and how they're doing it. And yeah, it makes if you have the opportunity to do the espresso mornings and be speaking to other traders and like being
Yeah.
in the mix, it's a game changer.
Honestly, Dev, when I talk to people, literally, I will say, everything that Simple FX does, all the award-winning video stuff, the one-to-one mentor, everything, live events, the rooms, live trading rooms. The jewel in the crown is coffee. The
Mm,
jewel in the crown is that coffee morning. It's 30 minutes and you're in there and we're talking about what happened yesterday, good, bad, or ugly, whatever it is. And you're with another 30, 40, 50, 60 traders.
mm,
It makes all the difference. And then also in that room all day, because people are talking to each other all day, you've got comments coming into the room, and also, of course, you get, because different people focus on different assets. So
mm,
with the best will in the world, none of us can monitor every asset. You just can't. But there's people who focus on like oil and they'll drop a comment in saying, listen, I've been watching this for a few weeks now. If it gets here, this is looking good, sort of thing. Or gold or some of the indices. People are just really focused on those, whereas you might be focused on something else. So
mm,
you get all of this information. So it's and that's a big thing, I think, Dev, as well. But there's two things that you said, which is if you're on your own and you're making losses, and then you're putting another couple of grand in the account, and you're going again, and you're putting another couple of grand in the account, and you're going again, you sort of it's like death by a thousand cuts.
mm,
You know what I mean? It's like death by a thousand cuts. Whereas, again, to your point, if you're accountable to someone, if you've got someone like Rich who's checking in to say, right, okay, let's have a look what's going on, you won't be allowed to do that. You just
mm,
not be allowed to do that. But I think the big thing I think, which is when we were talking about if this is all you had,
mm,
if you were there and it's like this is all I've got now, this is how I make my income. I think I think you'd be much more disciplined because the losses you would the risk management would tighten up massively, I think,
mm.
because you'd always be so aware, I can't really afford to lose that now. So you'd either reduce lot sizes, you'd maybe take less trades actually, just take the really compelling trades, or you might only enter the market at that really, really safe entry point. Um,
It's interesting what you say. It's like sometimes people ask me why I'm obsessed with ORB or my 6:30 in the morning trade.
yeah,
Main reason I do that is because when 8:15's gone, ORB's gone.
yeah,
So if you place another trade, you're not using your strategy. You are just throwing money against the wall.
yeah,
And like just even listening to you there, that thing about the coffee morning when people are saying, I've been watching it for a few weeks, that just shows that people are using discipline. So if you're in that type of environment, no one's just like, oh, it's almost at that level. People are like, when it gets to this level, because I've been watching it a few weeks. I think
yeah.
those words just like help people with their discipline.
Yeah.
It makes such a difference.
No, sure. And Rich will do that a lot. Obviously, Rich uses a lot of pending orders, as you know. And he'll be like, maybe on a Monday or a Tuesday, he'll say, I'm not going to change that. We're miles away, but I think at some stage this week, that will trigger.
Mm,
What I mean, it's like, yeah, I've decided where I'm entering the market, and I'm not changing it. I've done the prep. I know that this is a good entry, and I know the reasons why I've decided it's a good entry, which will be a combination of some technical stuff and some fundamental stuff, usual things. So
mm,
I'm not changing it. It does look miles away from it today, but so many times on a Monday, Rich will say, "Yeah, I know it looks a bit off, but I reckon sometime at some stage this week that'll trigger."
yeah.
And again, it's the same thing. It's that like, whereas most people will look at it, so well, it's miles off, let's move it.
No, the interesting thing about that actually, I trade every day now, as we spoke previously. I have two kids up to get ready for. I have to get them ready for school, get them to school, get myself, go to work. So that's why I try to trade at about 6:30 in the morning. And when I do ORB, I do it in the car with my phone because I'm always on the move. But I think I might actually allocate an account to just pending orders
Yeah,
in, and just see how that works for a bit because it's the constant rush, the constant moving,
yeah,
and sometimes, I mean, what I do, which is pretty bad, but it does work. But I understand that I use prop firms, so it's slightly different. If it's near a pen a number or a level,
yeah,
I might place a smaller lot size increase my stop loss,
Yeah.
and shut my laptop and go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I to be fair, I very rarely use pending orders, but that's the joy of speaking to other traders because then all
Yeah.
of a sudden you're speaking to people who speak your language and you're like, oh yeah, actually that, you know what I mean? It's yeah.
For sure. I mean, Rich has got you again, you'll know he's got buy and sell orders on every single asset that we trade. So again, you need a lot of margin to be able to do that. So you've got to, or you bring your lot size down, so everything's relative. Um, but yeah, Rich must have. I might be. I mean, not on every asset there, but I would guess he's got 30 pending orders live every single day, maybe more, but certainly he's got a buy and a sell on every single asset that
Well,
we trade.
I'm not on Richard's level in any shape or form, but that's similar to how you trade prop firms. So if anyone's trying to trade a prop firm, the easiest way to it's not it's not illegal, so it's fine. They can't like ban you from trading prop firms for doing this. And obviously you need the money, but have buy like maybe 3 to 5 prop firms, place trade big, but one each day. So a classic example, euro dollar, minimum 1 day a week. That does a big move. So big move, as in if you risk 500, you can make 2K. So
Yeah,
that's just you can back test this. It happens at least once every week. So if you get 5 accounts and then you risk say 10 lots on each account, just one a day,
yeah,
so you'll lose a grand or you make 4K.
yeah,
You do that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. One of those days, you're going to make 4K on one of those accounts. And then all the ones you lose, you go back to your 500 trying to make 1500. On the one that's 4K, you just do the same thing on that. And then one of those accounts pass, normally the one that you've gone almost half on. And
yeah,
it's that thing spreading out your risk
yeah.
amongst different accounts is similar to, I guess, what Richard is doing, spreading out his risk across different assets.
Yeah, and again, sort of, and then on a more manual basis, like if we're trading some dollar event,
Yeah.
so like this evening, it's the Fed interest rate decision this evening, and then there's a speech afterwards, so that'll probably move something.
Mm.
Although a lot of the economic data drops aren't, no one cares anymore because of Trump. Nobody cares. They're not having the same effect on the market. But what Rich will do, and again, I think it's a combination of this will probably sound silly, sort of some sort of spreading risk. So let's say the dollar looks like the dollar's going to get stronger.
Mm-hmm.
Rich will manually buy the dollar. He'll just place trades. He'll buy the dollar against 10 or 12 different other currencies all at the same time. Yeah, I mean,
Do you know I'm laughing? And we're just having a chat. So like, take out the rubbish bits, please do. Don't.
it's all no rubbish.
But,
It's not rubbish. It's all
no,
good.
but I'm actually like having an epiphany while we're speaking
Yeah,
because I don't really speak to people about trading anymore. I just trade, shut my laptop, and leave. But
yeah,
things like that, knowing, hang on, the dollar's going to get stronger. Well, why don't I use that information against commodities that are weaker, and
yeah,
then do that across a lot of them, you're definitely going to be in profit. Some are going to lose, but some are going to win. But unless you're in the room and having these conversations,
yeah.
these things will just pass you. And
Yeah. So we were talking about the. I mean, I'd never thought of doing that either, but like, it's so you've had. So how it works with the live, you should come back in the room really, but how it.
do you know the only reason why I didn't do the live rooms why is because my mornings are hectic.
Yeah,
So it's because I'm dropping off, picking, I'm dropping off, getting myself ready, trying to get out the door. My mornings are hectic, but I do realize now, having this conversation, even though I've been making money, I feel like I would, because that the aim of the game is to not is to lose less and make more.
yeah, of
But
course.
just speaking to you here, I've like I keep finding little nuggets in what you're saying,
Yeah.
making me think, okay, well, if I add that to my game, then I could probably make a little bit more money, or I can, if I think about this. But then when you're not speaking to other people and you're just doing your own thing, you can make money that way. And I still believe one strategy, one trade a day, and you make money. But just speaking to people, like it's nice. Just even like the I get a massage a week because it's stressful trading. But I
Yeah.
feel like talking to you and Richard, it's like some of that stress of trading is just being alleviated just because I'm having a chat. It is, yeah.
Yeah,
You
it's,
don't
it's
have to put all this stuff in. It's just blowing my mind sitting here talking to you, and it's just like,
I mean, but the stuff you're saying as well, Dev, that I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it strikes me that we've only spoke to each other twice, mate, but it strikes me that you're quite a disciplined trader, quite a disciplined trader, or a very disciplined trader. And a discipline is where I tend to fall down, where I'll do really, really well, but I'll always get the this is I'm overblowing this, but I'll always get the Gordon Gecko moment. I think here he is, Gecko's in town. You're Gordon Gecko today, Mark. This is it. This is and whenever you think this is the day, there is no day. There's
yeah,
there is
yeah, yeah,
there's just a nice steady income stream over time, but
yeah.
there's no day. There's no day ever. Um,
I need to play that part every day because you know the one thing with prop firms, I've got to leave in about 10 minutes. But the
no
one
problem.
thing,
Sorry, Dev.
one thing with prop firms, what happens with me anyway, is I'm consistent, I'm disciplined. I'll pass the challenge. I'll get to my first payment, so I've made back anything I've spent, and I've got a bit of profit. I might get to the second, sometimes the third payment, and then I have exactly what you said. Today's the day.
I know. It's the Gordon Gecko moment. That's what I call it.
And I'll blow the account. But I
Yeah.
think my biggest challenge is because I operate with more than one funded account, and I'm always but so if anyone doesn't, if people didn't know, funded accounts are tax deductible.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so you can just buy a ton of them, but you've got to pay tax on the money you make.
Oh, okay, got it.
So where I trade like that, for me, I don't mind buying like five different funded accounts, and I might pass a few, and it's just a part of the business how you make money. But the point I was making is I know that I've always got accounts that I'm trying to pass. Then I've always got funded accounts, and then I've always got ones that I blow. I kind of tell myself, well, I can have that crazy moment, like you say, maybe once a week, or
Yeah,
maybe once every 2 weeks, whatever have you. But then that happens, I slap myself, and then I'm disciplined again.
yeah,
I just
yeah.
think I think until you are at, I don't know, Richard's level or people who trade at his level, I think you're always going to have those moments when you're like, hang on, that's all-time highs. It's
I
never
know.
been there before. That's got to drop. And then you just like,
I know.
how losing.
Yeah, and it's like whatever if your normal lot size is 20 quid, 30, whatever it is, it's
Oh,
like, yeah, at this level, I'm doubling up. I'm doubling, and then it goes again. And then of course in your head, you're like, well, if I was prepared to double up at that level, now it's even more compelling. So I'll double up again.
well,
You know, and
this is why I stopped trading GBPJPY.
yeah,
Because I mean, I placed one today to be fair, but I've kind of stopped because it's just at all-time highs.
yeah,
So
yeah,
every day for a while, it looked like today's the day.
yeah,
I just realized, you know what, I've got to walk away from it for a bit,
yeah.
because and even today, it looked like today's today, and it wasn't today. So
No,
it's just Trump. He's a terrible man. He's
I
destroyed.
know. I mean, because Rich started trading the Nikkei at a serious level, a really serious level, and I started trading it as well. That's a whole different ball game. That's a whole different. You need a different strategy for that. I tend to hedge it actually. I start with a really small, really low lot size, like a pound a point hedge at the start of the day. I just set that up. This is going to sound crazy, Dev, and I almost use it as my measuring device. It's like to your point, you said something earlier, which again twigged with me, mate. It's a fantastic conversation. But I know that at some time in the day, this is gonna make a move one way or another. I know it's gonna make a move. And when that moves, I mean that moves like 800 to 1,000 points a day.
Oh wow.
I mean, it's incredible. So, but you're in a much higher risk environment. But so I take the hedge off because I'm like, okay, that's sort of that's giving me. It's not costing me anything. It's just costing me the spread. But using these, so right, okay. Then you see the move. Obviously, as soon as you see the move, when you get rid of the loss making trade straight away, you see the move, and then you place your trade.
Yeah.
It's like right, I've waited all day because I've got this. Don't ask me why I need a hedge, but I just do. And
Mm.
because I've been watching it all day, right now it's started to move. And I might be looking at on low time frames. It started to move. It's just moved 150 points. It's really, say, pushing up.
Yeah.
I know there's another 150, 250 points there. That's all I want. I'll just take those. But now I'll place a trade with a meaningful lot size. And then I'll take that trade. So I said I made 267 points today on the Nikkei, right? Just literally like that. It started to move. I got in, got out, happy. I could have made more, of course, but like my target's 20 points a day.
I think I need to look at that. But I know the hedging thing because when I first started working out my strategy for GBP JPY,
Yeah,
um, I would hedge at about 6:30 in the morning and then
yeah,
just go because it used to always go up or always go down. So it might
yeah,
just do that all day or could do that all day. So that was my thing. And then I
yeah.
realized when I look back at my data that at 6:30 in the morning, whichever direction the day is going in, so if it's green or red on the day chart, um, that's the way it tends to go. So maybe
Don't
three,
need that.
yeah, maybe three out of five times.
Yeah,
And then that's when I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to hedge anymore. I'm just going to go in that direction. But I like the idea of hedging. I like,
yeah.
and
It's just relaxing. It sounds really silly, mate. But it's just to me, it's like I've placed the hedge. Nothing's happened. Nothing's happened. It's cost me the spread. I can just sit here and I can now really get stuck into this asset. I find you do tend to need to watch it quite a bit. I don't move it, but it's sort of and like I mean I think Rich is at the minute. Rich is never out of the Nikkei. He's always got two, three, four trades on all the time,
you know
literally.
what? That could work on Euro USD, and yeah, that could because when you do, I'm going to backtest this actually because when you do ORB,
Yeah,
if if price comes back to the middle of
yeah,
ORB, you could place a hedge either side.
yeah,
In that way, that's half of your risk both ways that you would have done on the one. Because say
yeah,
you risk 500 on the whole candle, you're going to risk 250 that side, 250 that side, maybe 300 that side, 300 that side.
yeah,
And then you just let it go. And on the days when it goes, even days where it's not doing the whole big move, it will normally get you, if you're risking 500, you can normally get about a grand to 1200 out of it. So if you're
yeah,
not being greedy, you could just do that and then the likelihood is I'm going to back test it, but I imagine the likelihood is you'll get maybe 3-ish days of the week where you'll make money out of that.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
don't put that
Interesting.
in, but
Yeah,
or you can, doesn't matter. I'm going to back test that and have a look at that
yeah,
because the what I back tested the thing we spoke about trying to do one to one and making a small amount, and
yeah,
I realized on Euro USD, if you do ORB,
yeah.
roughly 4 days a week, you can get a one to one off
Oh
of
wow,
ORB.
wow.
ORB, when it doesn't work, it will go up a bit to let everyone think it's going up, and then it
Yeah,
will go down and go in its direction. Well, that little pump when the market opens
yeah,
tends to go in that direction for about 500 quid if you're risking 500 quid. So one to one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of things going on here, Dev.
Yeah, I know. So
Podcast. There's all these strategies. People will be listening. They'll be writing it down. About this is amazing. We've got all these strategies going on.
no, but if anyone's new, that I can't say enough. Back test,
Yeah, that's great.
back test, back test. Because the only reason why I put so much money in is because I've back tested and I'm confident.
Yeah,
So when you're confident and you know that, I know for the last 3 years, ORB is 50 to 55% win rate.
yeah,
So I know that it's like flipping a coin. The likelihood is it's going to be a win or it's going to be a loss. But if my risk management is good and I'm
so,
risking five to make three, sorry, 500 to make £1,500 or 500 to make £1,000, you're always going to end up on top at the end of the month. And
yeah,
even there are months when it's like, when you backtest, sometimes there might be 2 months when you're in the red.
yeah,
But overall, at the end of the year, you're up.
yeah. No, no, for sure. It's about just making steady profits over time.
Yeah,
Averages over time that always wins. Not the big day. It's
yeah,
just averages over time. And that weekly average just pumps up over time. You know
yeah,
what I mean? And so just in absolute terms, you don't need like to your point, Dev. If you win in 3 out of 5, you're making money. And
yeah,
the only thing that changes probably is that your lot size is moving from a quid to 2 quid to a fiver to a tenner to 20 quid and so on. But along that journey, you're just getting more and more confident in the strategy. This is the truth.
And
Um,
do you know who where I got it from listening to you guys? It makes me think about it. But on Richard's, I can't remember which one it is. One of Richard's videos, that American guy, can't remember his. Yeah, he says with all of his experience, he says he does one-to-ones,
I know he does. Yeah, yeah,
and it just resonates with me. Just like, this guy's been doing it for this long, and he's doing one-to-one while we're going through this crazy patch with the war where
yeah.
everything's at all-time highs. Just get in, get out, and walk away. In,
That,
get
that- that's what I'm doing. That like with the Nikkei today. I mean, like I say, it moves 800 to 1,000 points a day. This thing,
yeah,
but for me, it's like I've got 200 points here. I've got 250 points here. Decent lot size, 250 points. It's great. So I'll trade between a fiver and a tenner a point on the Nikkei, and then I'll have the hedge at a pound a point. But that's sort of my measurement tool, really.
yeah.
And then it's like a fiver or a tenner a point. But I mean, a tenner a point, 260 points. I mean, you're having a laugh, aren't you? You're having a laugh at the end of the day. So it's really, really good. I'm really conscious of your time, mate, because you've
Yeah,
given.
I've got literally, I've got to shoot 2 minutes. I've got to get.
Listen, yeah. So first of all, Dev, is number one, it's fantastic to meet you, which was great last week. You're just a beautiful human being, mate. It's fantastic to meet you. And today, it's just great to chat with you because it's like this thing's pinging off all the time when we talk. It's just absolutely brilliant. And I'm so thanks so much for the time. Hopefully, we'll see you on the inside. Get on the coffees. That's what you got to do.
Do you know what? I think I will try to get on the coffees, but if the difficulty is it will be on in the background while
Yeah.
I'm living my life at the minute. Yeah,
That's better than nothing, though, Dev.
yeah,
That's better than
yeah.
nothing because you just listen to something, you just twig it. So, and it'll be something that's worth a lot of money to you for sure.
Yeah, I do think, it's good to have someone to be accountable to. Because if I didn't blow my accounts after a few payouts, I would still have those accounts.
Yeah. Wow.
Do you know what I
Wow.
mean? That
Yeah.
would be, and that thing of my goal at the beginning of the year was to have £1 million in funding
Wow.
and just try and make 1% a month.
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome.
But I I feel like the help I would get from someone saying, "What have you done today? What have
Yeah.
you done tomorrow?" would probably help me not blow the account at the end of the week. On the day where I think it's all or nothing, I might clock into um, the coffee morning, and
Yeah.
Richard's like, "Everyone, make sure you're disciplined today." Then that day I might be like, "Do you know what? Actually, I'm not going to risk it all." Do you know
Yeah.
those?
And that's been happening a lot of late, Dev, where we just say, listen, just sit on your hands today. This certainly on some of the assets, particularly the yen, particularly two or three of the assets here, but like just don't trade, don't trade oil today. We don't know what's going on. Don't trade gold, that's all over the place. Don't trade the yen. Just wait. Let's just wait and see. And it's just brilliant advice. Just brilliant advice, mate. Before you go, just one last question, and I'll let you go. So really appreciate the time, mate. It's fantastic, and everybody else will appreciate it as well. When you talk about sort of achieving £1 million worth of funded accounts,
Yeah,
what would the challenges cost to get to that level of funding?
it's not even that. Well, it's sorry, it is a lot of money. So I go for companies that have a history of paying.
Yeah.
So, for example, FTMO, 100K account is roughly about 400 quid.
Wow.
Alpha Capital, 100K account is roughly about 350.
Wow.
So you
Wow.
would need, you would need the way I do it, you would need three accounts to say get one.
Yeah.
So you might spend, I don't know, you might spend what, I'm not very good with maths.
Maybe you spend 1,200 quid to get 100K funded account. For
No, yeah, yeah, yeah. So I reckon you'll spend about, yeah, 1200. So the way I would advise people to do it is you'd get one FTMO, one Alpha Capital, and then one something like Blue Guardian. Blue Guardian's like the cheapest one you can get, but they still pay. So
Yeah.
cheap Blue Guardian's something like maybe 250. So
Yeah.
a grand could
Yeah.
roughly get you three accounts.
Wow.
And then the trick is once you pass on one of those accounts and you make a withdrawal of, say, like I always try to make a withdrawal of 2K.
Yeah.
Because if you make a 2K withdrawal after it gets converted into UK money and you get your 80% or 90% split, it's always roughly about 1,500 to £1,700.
Yeah.
So then you take the 5 or 7 and then you'll invest the grand again and you go again and you go
Gotcha.
again and you go again and you go again and you go again. And then that's the model. It only doesn't work when Trump decides to have a war.
Yeah. Which unfortunately is all the time at the minute.
Yeah. But up until this Iran thing, you could see on my Instagram account that I don't use anymore, just killing it. Just like, but you've got to have that initial grand
Yeah.
to
Gotcha.
invest and then be disciplined to trade one a day,
Yeah.
one a day. And that's where it can become hard because some people don't have the discipline to trade one a day. Because the big thing that happens is you might trade one and you might lose and then you go again. But the second you take another trade, the whole strategy is just gone out the window.
Yeah. It's a different strategy then. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's not what the plan is. So three accounts, one trade a day on each of those accounts, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then if you've lost on all three of those, then the one that you used on Monday, you use on Thursday, the one you use on Tuesday, you use on Friday. And you
Cool.
just keep doing that. And then one of them tends to always pass. You tend to get, say, 4K on one account on one day. That account, you lower the risk after you get your 4K and you
Yeah.
start aiming for like £1,500 every time you use it. And then within a week, sometimes a week and a half, you've passed that account.
Yeah.
And then the only thing is the hardest thing, and it happens to me as well, is you have to completely change your strategy you use to pass the challenge. You can't use that to get a funding, to get a payout.
Oh, wow. So they won't let you use the same
But
strategy.
you can, but you'll just lose and you'll blow the account. So
Gotcha.
you've got to go from risking big to risking small and
Got
having
it.
one trade a day again, but small. So even if you've got like 4 losses in a row, you can still break even ish at the end of the week.
Yeah. I see. Yeah.
And that's the bit that is challenging because sometimes it happens to me. I get in this mindset of making big trades, and then you get on your funded account. One of the tricks I do is I have a laptop for my um, challenges,
Yeah.
and I have a laptop for my funded accounts,
Yeah.
and I try to mix them because once you mix them, it just
Yeah. It's interesting that something I said to Rich, which is for example, if you're trying to day trade,
Yeah.
swing trade, I
Mm.
said to Rich, I can't even do that in the same account. It's got to be a completely different account because it just messes your head.
Yeah.
Because where you've gone long on a day trade, you're actually going short on a swing trade on the same asset, and it's like, forget it. Yeah, forget it.
That always, because I hate going long. I mean, I hate holding trades overnight
Yeah, me
because
too.
I don't trade with a bias. Because
Yeah,
I trade with a bias, I tend to hold on to that bias. So I trade whatever ORB is. I don't have a bias. 6:30 in the morning, whichever way the daily candle's going. But
yeah,
anytime I have a trade overnight, I wake up in the morning, and if it's a buy and the daily candle's telling me sell, I hold on to that bias, even though I know
I know.
back tested and it means it's changing direction. I still believe
I
it's
know. It's there's a phrase for that. I can't remember. It's like it's because it's the sunken investment you have in that trade.
yeah,
It's like something bias. I forget what it's called now, but it's you've got. It's like when you've just invested in something, whatever it is, to a point, and you think, well, now I'm here. I might as well just keep going.
yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of sunken investment bias or something. I can't remember what it's called, but
No, I am. I've got to shoot, but do you know what I am going to do though? I'm going to get another CFD account. I'll probably get that tomorrow, whenever, and I'm going to try and grow it to 25 again.
yeah, perfect.
I think I'm going to do that because, yeah, I know I can. It's just have it in the background. Place a trade, shut it. Go do something else. Place a trade, shut it. Go and do
I
something.
love that. I love that. I mean, you can just do that. You can just do that as a strategy and have other strategies as well.
Yeah. So I'll have my prop firms that I do, and
Yeah.
then have that in the background and just keep going and going and going on that.
Brilliant. Listen, Dev, it's an absolute pleasure to talk with you.
Yes, I'm going to go and get kids.
Value for the people who are going to be watching this, mate. So listen, you hopefully we'll see you on the inside really soon. That'd be brilliant.
That'd be
Uh,
great.
and it'd be lovely to see you in the flesh at some stage and give you a hug, mate. That'd be lovely.
You too. Right,
Okay.
lovely to meet you again, and
Yeah.
I'll speak to you soon.
Hey, listen, take care and go well, Dev. Nice one. Thanks for your time, mate. Thank you.